Hello guys and welcome to my new video, and today we're talking about add-ons in Midnight. This is going to be part 2 version of the video because there's a lot of updates. Blizzard made a blue post about their intentions in terms of healer frames. That's been a hot button discussion for a long time, and there's a lot of confusion about what the add-ons are able to do. I'll showcase some of the add-ons that are working in Midnight and what they can do in order to kind of create a more clear image. There's a lot of confusion about add-ons in Midnight. There's a lot of people think that add-ons are going away completely. There's not going to be a single third-party add-on. There's a lot of people who think that there's only going to be out-of-combat add-ons available, and that is just not true right now. But first of all, we're going to start off with healer frames, and then we're going to move on to some of the examples of workable add-ons in Midnight. So first of all, Blizzard made a post about what the healer frames might look like. This is work in progress. This is not available on the alpha build that I've been testing, so I think they're still cooking up things. And overall, this is the most important thing you need to remember in terms of add-ons. This is basically what Blizzard is trying to do. Overall, you can think of it this way: if the UI displays a piece of combat information, add-ons will, in most cases, this is very important, be able to present that information to you in a different way. However, add-ons will no longer be able to use that combat information to drive custom logic or make decisions for you. So this is going to be evident in the second section of the video. Now, in terms of healing and raid frames, based on the Blizzard's blue post, if you read this section here, we're adding a setting allowing players to choose from 3 different layouts for the information shown in each player frame. The existing layout where you have name top left, where you have buffs bottom right, and where you have debuffs bottom left, and then the spells top right will still be default. So again, trying to read into this, I'm assuming that one of the different layouts is going to be maybe buffs are going to be bottom left, maybe debuffs are going to be bottom right, and it's going to shuffle the position or change the position of your buffs, debuffs, name, and the spell icon, which for me is still not really all that exciting. I still would like to have a lot more customization, especially because I've been hearing a lot of players talking about the fact that they want filtering. Maybe if you're playing Wrestle Druid, you want an easier way to see which player has Life Bloom. Maybe if you're playing Mistweaver, you want to have an easier way to see which players have Renewing Mist. Maybe change the color of the frame or the border to showcase who has Renewing Mist, in the same way that the Discipline Priest, if you want to track things like Atonement. Maybe for Resto Shaman, if you're playing Whispering Waves build, you want to make sure that you know exactly which players have Riptide, and you want to have more filtering. From everything that I read so far, I'm not really seeing filtering being an option, which again, it's early days, there's still going to be changes, but I would love for a way to filter out certain buffs, filter out certain debuffs, and make sure or add additional ways to highlight those. And you can see they're actually doing that with poison right here. You see the poison icon, you see the border changing, and I'm hoping that they're going to add this functionality for buffs and debuffs. Again, I'm still not sure what they're doing with the absorbs. The absorbs with default frames basically show nothing. They don't show the true amounts, which I think is also kind of, again, should be changed. But overall, I'm happy they're doing more options, but I'm hoping for a little bit more in the future in terms of customization, especially for the examples that I mentioned before, absorbs and highlighting different buffs in terms of knowing exactly when you have certain buffs on a player, depending on the spec you're playing. And just to highlight what is capable in Midnight Alpha right now through the use of add-ons, and I'm kind of going to loop back to the nameplates or healer raid frames in the same kind of section. So first of all, this is the default nameplates. This is Blizzard, this is Alpha Dungeon right here, this is the latest Alpha stage. You can go into options, you can go into nameplates, and you have quite a few options to change the size, the buffs, or the debuff and buff scale. You can change some of the cast information, the style, again, multiple different default presets available. Now, there are add-ons in Midnight Alpha that give you additional customization, and let's look at that. So you can see it right now, my nameplates are very different, and this is through the use of add-on called Platynator. And Platynator, if you type in /Platy, you'll have options in terms of how you want to design your nameplates. You can see right here, you can actually click and drag on anything that you want. This is very simplistic. Again, I'm changing the size right here. In this example, I chose to have a different main texture. You can have different textures to make the nameplates look very, very different. And it's actually surprising how much better certain textures look and feel. So this add-on allows you to provide additional customization. In another example, you can actually change, if I click this targeting here, you can change how the targeted enemy, how the nameplate is going to look like. In this case, I might add double arrows. In another case, I might add highlighting. So you can see it right here that there is a decent amount of customization. Now, I made a short about this, and a lot of people were extremely confused about the fact that this add-on is going to provide a, like, how do I say, it's going to give you competitive advantage. This add-on just basically gives you customization options. This add-on gives you more customization options than the default nameplates that Blizzard provides, but they're not necessarily going to give you a direct advantage. There is no way to change the color of the nameplate for a specific mob. Maybe you have some casters and you want to have a different or easier way to highlight that. You don't really have that. Most of the add-ons that are available at Midnight are going to allow you to customize what's already there. It's not going to provide you with additional functionality that is going to help you play the game or anything along those lines. This is basically purely customization. A best example for this is going to be looking at things like the auras that you can track on the nameplates. There's just nothing you can do with it. All you can do is scale. You can't really filter it. You can't really change the, again, the nameplate color, which a lot of people really want. If you compare what is available here to something like what's available on retail right now, this is bare bones, even though the way that you can edit it is absolutely fantastic in my honest opinion. I think it's actually really great. Drag and drop type of functionality is really, really interesting. So there is a clear thing that Blizzard wants to happen in Midnight, is that we're going to, or at least they're going to build their own stock UI, and then add-ons are going to be able to configure some of the information that is available, but they won't do many things that the default UI cannot achieve. And I think that's going to be another example of the healing raid frames. In the healing raid frames, again, right now from the blue post, they're basically telling you you're going to have buffs on the bottom right hand side, debuffs on the bottom left hand side, name on the top left, and things like that. And I'm not sure, or at least the way that I see it, if there's going to be add-ons, they're not really going to be able to do all that much, except for like, hey, we're going to place, or you'll be able to place your buffs in a different position, your debuffs in a different position. But I haven't seen anything that allows you to filter buffs or debuffs, which I think is very important for healer raid frames. Again, I mentioned this in the section 1. So this is just to give you a clearer idea of what add-ons might be capable in Midnight. They're not going to play the game for you. They're not going to give you insane amount of added functionality. They're just going to make things look a little bit different, and in a lot of cases you can configure that and make it feel really nice, which I actually think is a big W. At the end of the day, Blizzard is making some insanely restrictive changes to add-ons, and that is something that we're all going to have to get used to, whether you like it or not. And believe me, I am not really impressed by what I've seen in terms of healer raid frames, because I would like to have a lot more additional functionality. But remember, this is Blizzard's first iteration of trying to improve raid frames, and there's only mock-ups. It's not even available to test, and there's still a decent amount of time left. If you want to read more about nameplates, I suggest checking out this article right here, which is almost too in-depth in terms of what it covers. Really well-written overview of the state of nameplates so far in Midnight Alpha. What features you are going to miss the most, because I can tell you right now, most of the healing add-ons, most of the health frame add-ons, raid frame add-ons, they're not going to have the same amount of functionality. This add-on right here in terms of nameplates, this is probably the best you're going to get unless something is going to change. So that is something to keep in mind. It's all about creating different customization options without adding additional functionality, and I think that's what Blizzard is going. Let me know how you feel about this. Let me know how you feel about Platynator, which I think is actually fantastic. Thank you, and I'll see you in my next video.